A little bit better of a response tonight. Would you say that you guys came more prepared for it, or was it something like the Barons situation that kind of sparked everything?
No, honestly, I thought we played a pretty good game last night and a pretty good game tonight. And today our power play scored some goals. We defended a little better. We got a few more saves. But the game script for me, honestly, was very similar. It's there's a lot more bleeding out there than I would have preferred tonight. But I'm happy the power play was able to get right and get a few goals and get us going in the right direction.
The high stick on Barons is, like you said, a lot of bleeding.
Yeah.
How's his face or whatever bust open?
Yeah, he'll look like a winner. Sometimes that's what it takes. And as soon as they could sew him up, he had a cage on. He was back out there, and I think that's something we've talked about Sean now. He's a competitor. He's not coming out of the game teeth, stitches. He's out there to win. And like I said, sometimes the scars are fun stories to tell.
Yeah.
I've asked you about this kind of thing before, but you can see where Chicago starts to get frustrated in this game is maybe trying to bait your players into doing the wrong thing. Are there steps that you take as a coach to try and mitigate that, or do you want to allow some room for your players to feel the emotion of the game?
Yeah, I think there has to be some emotion, right? You don't want to play the game, without it. But that being said, we're in full control of that hockey game, and they're trying to get, whether it's a 4-on-4 situation or a power play situation, they're trying to get a spark, right? So you're trying not to give them something to play for. The game is in control, keeping it 5-on-5. So you understand why teams are doing it. It's strategic more than anything. I thought we handled it pretty well for the most part. Kind of got involved in some of it, and our bench gets shorter, and we'll address it and talk about it. But as a coach, you say it, it's coming. Right? So you have to prepare for it and make sure that you're willing to eat a punch for your teammates, because that's ultimately how winning teams behave, especially in the playoffs. You can't give away power play opportunities, especially to a dangerous offensive team.
That we had mentioned how Taylor McCarr was doing on his shifts and is coming down from the Avalanche last night, and I specifically watched his first shift and noticed a huge difference in his play just in that first shift. What was your thoughts?
I thought he had a better game tonight. Players generally know when they don't play well, and Taylor didn't have his best game last night. He knew that coming in and seen a response. And there was a bunch of guys that I thought had much better efforts tonight. And it wasn't that we had to say anything or address anything. I think that's just part of being a pro, knowing when to respond and when to make sure that you're not going to go on a week-long break playing on 2 bad games. You want to feel good about it. So I was good to see his engagement early, and then he gets rewarded with a goal. So the engagement obviously was a positive for him.
Just with young players in general, is it maybe something you take mental note of when they can self-assess like that, and then immediately next game implement some of those changes?
Yeah, you're always looking for guys to be kind of self-starters, and the self-evaluation is the hardest thing to get guys to understand. Often the conversation is, well, how do you think you played? And good, almost like if you ask my son when he comes home from school how school was. The answer is always good. But when guys can actually be critical about what went on in the game, not actually tie it to points and how they played in structure, was it close to their identity? When you get a young player to figure that out, that's generally when they take steps. And I think that's what we kind of seen tonight with some guys making an adjustment to the way the game was played and having a much more positive impact. And that's where you're hopefully seeing some of the development we're trying to get done.
Talked about how dangerous that top line was last night. Second line gets a little bit of a different look. I felt like they had a lot of energy. Can you walk me through kind of how that line came together for tonight?
Yeah, honestly, Poe and Wisey had been going pretty good for a while. And TJ's kind of had a tough time of it lately getting points on the board. So the idea was to get some more straight line directional guys like Poe that can go get pucks, and TJ was one of those guys like Taylor who didn't have a good night last night, and you could see right from the first shift there was a little bit different intent and a little bit different intensity to what he was doing, and I thought he had a really, really good night for us. So again, another guy older, different than Taylor, but able to make self-adjustments and bring something to the group today.
What about Jason Poland's toolkit do you like on the power play?
Well, and I use Arturi Lehkonen as a player, as a comp, where a guy that plays on the interior and does all the dirty things. Gets pucks back, takes abuse, gets inside, and allows some of the skill to make plays on the outside. So that for me is what he's there, and he provides. It has been providing. Now he'd tell you he'd like to finish more. Of course he would, but sometimes a good power play there's ingredients, and he brings a certain ingredient to what we need, and I think he's done a really good job kind of taking that to heart and becoming part of his identity in that group.
Good stick chasing, I guess, right?
No kidding. I actually think he's one of the best defensive sticks on the team.
Yeah, right. And then, so you've got 2 more left against these guys after the break, and things started to get a little bit vicious towards the later half of this game. Do you think that's going to carry over to the game 3?
I hope so. I don't think there's any reason for it not to. Usually familiarity kind of breeds a little bit of contempt, but I think when we get the better of them for, in my opinion, 6 periods, there's going to become some frustration on their side. They're going to try and, we're up 6-2. They're going to try and take a chunk out of us. You're expecting that. So I thought our guys managed it really well. When they go after you like that, it gives us something to look forward to in a week. So I think our group's not afraid of the challenge next weekend.
And then with Minor coming back from that upper body injury, how difficult do you think it is for him to come back and try and get back into the fold of things?
Well, the unfortunate part is he's had a lot of time off, for different reasons. This one's obviously an injury, but there's times where he was up with the As for 2 weeks and didn't play many games, so he comes down kind of cold and gets back in the net. But Trent prepares as good as anybody. He's a battler. He'll be ready. No qualms about putting him in the net.
What are you seeing in that second period that allowed your team to completely take control over the game?
We just finished some plays off. There's the power play obviously gets one, and then I think when you mount that much pressure offensively, and it builds on teams, and eventually it goes, and then you can feel the momentum in the building get going, and guys get confidence, and 5-goal periods are rare, right? So you enjoy it while you got it going, but I think it's just the mounting pressure of 4 periods and even then 5. You're just putting pressure on the team, and eventually they're going to break.
This is my last one. Your D-Corps experienced some adversity tonight. White Ahmet has a 3-point night with goal, 2 assists. What are you seeing that stands out in his game on a night like tonight? He plays the game so hard, right? Like, he's very competitive. He's got such good energy. The play he makes on the goal, everybody's kind of got a smile on their face because it's not really his game, but it's in there, right? Like, there's some offense to his game, and there's some good puck plays, and you're really happy when the good guys get moments like that. So you could just tell when the bench gets up for a guy like that. He's one of the good ones, and it was good to see him have a good night. Awesome. Thank you so much.